Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politic on the Midweek Fix. We were out last week.
Yes, we were.
Because this guy.
Hey, not we.
Knox was. I was working hard. I was working hard. Toby was working hard.
I was cranking
Knox
too.
wasn't working that hard.
Okay. Yeah. I see what this is.
He's actually filming up north of us.
Can you tell us what you were doing?
Yeah, let's talk about it on Sunday.
What?
Oh,
I'll tell you about it Sunday.
On
I'm still
Sunday?
I process
You're
slow.
processing?
I'll tell you this much. I had a chance to do a TV episode pilot with Show Baraka.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a
Our
blast.
boy Show.
Yeah, it was a
I
blast.
saw some of those pictures. That was kind of fun
Yeah.
to see you guys.
Fun set.
Yeah.
Had about 50 extras on the set.
Man.
It was nuts. We'll talk a little bit about it.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
This show's brought to you by
Are we going to go right to
Dime
there?
Payments.
We're going to go right to Dime Payments.
He just skipped over
He's
that.
going to do it.
Dime
Okay, hey, I got it for us.
Dime Payments.
Y'all been off for too long.
If you run a business or nonprofit organization that takes credit card payments, then you know all about high fees and headaches from payment processors.
That's
Even
right.
worse, these companies often oppose everything we stand for.
So
They hate what we stand for.
They do. So, like, for example, Stripe canceled Trump,
Yeah.
MailChimp canceled Babylon Bee just last month. MailChimp
Really?
literally canceled,
Well-
so a lot of these big tech corporations, like payment processing companies,
Right.
have no problem with cancel culture.
Because they're part of the church of secularism,
That's right.
statism, and they excommunicate unbelievers.
Well,
And so
PayPal canceled American Vision. Remember that?
that's
and
right.
Uncle Gary.
That's
So
right.
So
They
PayPal
did.
shut them down.
Gab's been canceled by everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same here.
So that's why you
Dime's
need-
a Christian company.
Yeah.
That's
why you need Dime Payments.
I'll let you finish.
Say it again, Gabe.
Dime's a Christian company.
Okay, all right.
Tripology.
Dime provides the easiest credit card and ACH processing on the market. Gabe, do you have something else to say? They're a Christian company.
They're a Christian company.
Whether
That's
you're
right.
Go to war.
We obviously didn't practice this.
Do we ever? Whether you're accepting payments for your business or online donations for your church or organization, Dime has you covered with a custom solution that's low cost, secure, honest, and simple. Also, they're a Christian company.
That's right.
Don't let big tech cancel your payments. Don't fund their efforts to undermine your values. Oh, I like that. Don't fund their efforts to undermine your values. Why
That's
would you
good.
support them if they hate what you stand for? Check out our friends over at Dime today. Go to dimepayments.com/FLF.
Fight, laugh, feast.
And
FLF.
if you sign up and you mention Fight Laugh Feast or Cross Politics,
They support us.
they're actually going to support us.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Ever since, I've been doing this for a long time, but I've really been taking an assessment of what it is I'm supporting and what it is I need to survive.
Sure.
And I'm like, stuff like Dime, like this is huge because they're doing a great job,
Right.
and you can use them to replace what you have without even knowing anything happened.
Yeah.
Well, and as we've kind of been building out Cross Politic and our corporate sponsors like Dime, like Samaritan Ministries, one of our goals there is actually to kind of present a Christian economy. Kind of like, hey,
Right.
here's your healthcare providers, here's your payment processors, here's your education, and so that's why I'm excited
I should
about
share
what
the
we're
show.
doing with Dime.
You
and
know what
everything on
else
that.
I'm excited about?
Yeah, what? Should I go backwards?
The Fight Laugh Feast Conference. Go backwards. The politics of sex, what you do in the privacy of your bedroom never stays there.
No.
It always comes out.
Yes.
You're building a culture. It's either one blessed by God,
That's right.
or it's one that's self-defeating and suicidal and destructive.
You know, I was talking this on the set. We were talking about economics. We were talking about how things are falling apart.
Yeah.
But at the core of all of this, it's really about men and women acting like men
Family.
and women together, the way that God has said. And then all of a sudden, you get rid of alcoholism. All of a sudden, you get rid of poverty. All of a sudden, you get rid of all the crime in the community. All that is traced directly back
To the family.
To the family.
and dads.
And dads being dads. That's right.
So we got Doug Wilson coming. He's going to be speaking about gay pulpits.
Yep. I'm surprised our Facebook ad hasn't been shut down yet.
We got Vody coming on critical sex theory.
Yep.
How to keep Freud and Marx out of your bedroom.
I'm wondering what he's. I'm actually interested to see what
excited.
those
When I
two are gonna
texted
say.
Bodie that topic, he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And
He
just
couldn't
laughed.
wait to do it.
He just like-
He couldn't wait to do
Oh,
it.
you know he's excited. David Bonson's coming doing punk rock home ec.
Yep, that's
Every time.
that's gonna be his theme every time. It's
Every
gonna be punk rock something.
Sorry, David.
It's
It's,
just
punk,
punk
rock, whatever.
That's what it is.
Who else we got coming?
Doug Tenaple.
Doug Tenaple.
Lies,
Who is big?
lies and prophetic poets.
which we need. You know,
Prophetic poets.
Disney's got some good poets.
Who does?
Disney. I'm trying to say prophets.
Okay.
And they do a great job of weaseling their way into...
they're false prophets.
They're false prophets.
But they're kind of shiny.
But I was thinking about
slick.
it. Where are the conservatives who are storytellers on that level?
Right.
Think about them. Where
Doug
are they
Tenaple.
at? That's right.
Doug Tenaple.
And that's why I'm interested for what he's
Nate
going to
Wilson.
Yes.
I'm going to be there. My talk's Molotov monogamy.
And drum roll, please.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
Wait.
It's 20 seconds.
Come on.
It's 20 seconds.
All right. Never mind. The show is done.
Okay.
No, every show from here to August 9th.
We'll just stop it.
August 9th, you have to let me set it up, remember?
Yeah.
I was going to set up afterwards.
That's how you usually do it. You give the punchline and then you tell the show.
Y'all tell me when we're ready.
We got this, Knox.
You want to be registering for the Fight Laugh Feast conference now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And up until August 9th, because August 9th is our early registration deadline, and prices go up $50 a ticket after that.
Yep.
So between now and August 9th, on every show, Midweek Fix and Sunday Special, we're going to be announcing one of the SWAT talks. So on Saturday morning, there are 3 hours, and each hour has 3 SWAT talks.
Yep.
What are SWAT talks?
SWAT talks, strategic weapons and tactics talks.
Ooh, bars.
Bars.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be announcing one of those SWAT talks every show. The first one we're announcing is right now.
20 seconds of drum roll.
Okay.
Am I going to announce it or are you going to announce it?
You got 10
We got
seconds
plenty
to
of time.
figure
We
it
got
out.
10 seconds. I'll announce
You
it.
can announce it.
I'll announce it.
Okay.
And the winner of the next SWAT talk is Sheologians.
Hey, you guys, you could come.
Diapers. Yeah,
Thank
can we
you.
get a clap? Can we get a clap? There we go.
We got a live
Best
studio
studio
audience.
audience.
Diapers, dishes, and Dominion.
Do they know they're talking about that yet?
No,
They
I
just
need to
found
text
out.
them.
We just
They
told
just
them.
found out.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Summer.
There we go, Summer.
So Sheologians, and then who's going to be with Sheologians?
Well, we can't announce that yet because I haven't confirmed it yet.
Another
but they're gonna
special-
have a very
another
special guest with them.
Has been invited to join them, but that's a great talk.
Yeah.
Diapers, dishes, and Dominion.
I've been wanting to
take over the world from your kitchen.
Yeah, I'm stealing that from American Vision, just so everybody knows.
Oh, good. So anyway, sign up. Go to flfnetwork.com /politics-of-sex. Sign up now. Register. Get in.
Hey,
And I just go ahead.
We're going to talk about our guest, or I'll go ahead. You want to talk about the magazine?
Our guest, I just want to remind everybody your magazine should be coming in this this last
I've been
week or
seeing
this
pictures.
week. Yeah, pictures started popping up. So if you don't get your magazine next couple weeks, make sure you email us at contact@fightlaughfeast.com and we'll make sure we get it out because every once in a while people move, they have their address changes and all that stuff. Amen. And all that. So there we go.
Yeah,
all right, you had something to say?
No, I was
Are we
playing
ready to
that,
get
I was
in the
playing
news?
that because we have studio guests. We just want to say
From Texas. We got
So
studio.
since
We got studio guests from the Texas. I didn't know. I mean,
Texas
that
is in the house.
That's
That
a
wasn't
weird
for you.
segue while
That
I
was-
was talking about our magazine.
We're about to talk about Texas politics right now,
That's
too.
right.
Maybe they have some thoughts on this. But you guys know that Texas is racist, right?
Yeah, well, it's been for a long time, so that's nothing new.
Apparently, all voter legislation is racist now.
Yeah.
It's either racist or it increases voter suppression.
Okay.
And yet I don't know. No one's explained to
Well,
me
and
why
that's-
it's racist or how it increases.
It's because states think they have authority over it.
States think they have authority over.
Well,
That's the
actually-
common pattern. I mean, watch this. So Georgia passes a voter legislation, right? And Major League Baseball pulls their All-Star game out of Atlanta, like the black mecca of the world.
Right. All the black jobs that they just took away work
and
from.
They take it to Colorado, Denver, which is like the whitest city in the world.
Well,
I don't know.
let's just say there's not a very high black population.
Okay, let's
there.
say that. And
That's
their
funny.
voter
That's funny.
legislation is stricter
Than what was
than
in Georgia.
Okay, so why? What's the deal?
Yeah, I don't know because I'm trying to figure that out too. Because I looked at the Georgia legislation. Ooh, Pastor Toby,
I know
you
the
got
answer.
this one.
The answer is they want the feds to run it. That's the answer.
Well, that's racist. That's really bad.
Why?
Because minorities get hurt the worst and stuff like that. You know, remember what was the act? I keep on forgetting it, but the Slave Act, the
Fugitive Slave Act.
Fugitive Slave Act. Come on,
How
Knox,
could you
remember-
forget about that?
I'm happy to forget about
trying
it. To be
to forget
honest
about
with you. But remember when the Fugitive Slave Act happened, there were black people who had run away from their masters and were living in other states.
Right.
And when the Fugitive Slave Act happened, it allowed now bounty hunters to go and it made every state
Cross
the same.
state lines.
Cross
Yeah.
state lines and go back and do something extremely unbiblical, which is take a slave back to his master who had ran away.
Right, which the Bible explicitly explicitly
says
prohibits.
not to do.
I mean,
it couldn't be clearer than don't sell people.
Yeah.
there was that.
There was that.
But this is before the Civil War.
Right.
And it actually, before that, there were laws on the books that sort of generally said you were kind of supposed to be helpful when people are looking for their runaway slaves.
Right.
But what the Fugitive Slave Act did was actually criminalized any kind of helping of runaway slaves.
Right, exactly.
And there was now going to be penalties.
Yeah.
And that's when...
And so you have a whole bunch of... You got Harriet Tubman, you got Frederick Douglass. All of a sudden, they're fleeing from the Northeast all the way up into Canada to get out because every place now there's no safe places at all in America. Wow. And so what they're doing with this federal... You would think that Democrats who claim to be for the people... That's hard to even say. Would understand that kind of history and wouldn't want a federalized institution governing each individual state.
You know what's hilarious, though, is now we have fugitive Democrats.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Right?
Right.
They just fled Texas.
Right.
So go back a little bit.
There's actually a fugitive. There's a Fugitive Democrat Act, I think, in process.
So now would they like it if it was federalized that every state had to make sure they were arrested?
Return the Democrats
right
back to Texas.
Now, would you like
no,
that?
No, don't return the Democrats back to Texas.
What did you say the Babylon Bee said?
The Babylon Bee had an article this week regarding what happened in Texas. So what happened was Texas right now is trying to pass updated voter legislation.
Right. The Senate passed it.
The Senate passed it. House can't pass it because a bunch of Democrats in the House left the state.
They lost their quorum.
So they lost their quorum. So they
ran
can't pass the
to
legislation.
DC. They ran to Washington, D.C.
They chartered a private jet.
They ran.
By the way,
with and they aren't wearing masks in the picture and everything.
Did you notice that they were on a jet, tightly packed together? I wonder if all of them were vaccinated. I just wonder.
Probably.
But they were all in there, and they were taking pictures without their masks on.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what is going
on? You know what, guys? The CDC says that private jets don't have COVID.
Oh, yeah. Is that how it works?
That's how it works.
It's the filthy public
So
ones.
did they do all this on taxpayer money?
Oh, probably. Oh yeah, sure.
Oh no, they've already raised $150,000 in support.
Okay, they $150,000.
Yeah, in like 24 hours.
Look, ask your boy.
So, but go finish.
I was going to say, ask David Bonson how much jet fuel costs. I'm sure that ain't enough money.
So why?
It actually is.
Why did they go to DC, Gabe?
So they went to D.C. So first of all, they left the state, so they didn't have to. So the voter legislation couldn't pass.
Right, because there's no quorum, they can't pass legislation.
They didn't go to Louisiana. They didn't go to Oklahoma. They went to D.C. because they wanted to protest in D.C. to get the federal voting rights passed. So they wanted federal voting laws passed.
So follow this, people. That's my point. Is if they don't have a problem with voting legislation,
right?
What they want is they want the federal government to do it.
Yep.
I mean that's the only thing that I can figure in all this because it's not actually logical. It's not actually rational where you can actually compare legislation and say, look, Colorado's legislation is actually stricter than Georgia's, or we were reading through the Texas legislation earlier, and how many things were deeply offensive to you, Knox?
Well, that's what I was trying to find. And listen, I can smell a dog whistle. I can hear them. I know when they're doing it. I was like, that's a problem. And I think everybody else says, well, at one point, and let's be honest, at one point there was a way that they were doing this to try and suppress votes.
Yes,
there's no doubt about that. But everybody's acting like, and it's a really big insult. Everybody is acting like that. The time and era that we are in is the same era of.
Well, that's what Biden said.
Yeah. Where's the clip from Biden?
We'll get right in.
Let's go to it.
There's an unfolding assault taking place in America today, an attempt to suppress and subvert the right to vote and fair and free elections, an assault on democracy, an assault on liberty, an assault on who we are as Americans.
Who we are.
For make no mistake.
Don't whisper in my ear, Gabe.
Bullies and merchants of fear, peddlers of lies, are threatening the very foundation of our country. It gives me no pleasure to say this. I never thought in my entire career I'd ever have to say it. But I swore an oath to you, to God, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. That's an oath that forms a sacred trust to defend America against all threats, both foreign and domestic.
Oh. Well, let's talk about
the voice of doctors.
Constitution?
Yeah.
Oh, hold your applause.
The assault on free and fair elections is just such a threat. fundamentally. I've said it before. We're facing the most significant test of our democracy since the Civil War. That's not hyperbole.
Since the Civil War. There we go.
The Confederates, back then, never breached the Capitol, as insurrectionists did on January the 6th.
Oh,
You done messed up, Aaron.
Yeah, I don't. What history book is he reading?
Yeah.
Like that. Didn't they go to war?
but-
Like it was a literal war. Civil war is in the name.
Yeah.
Civil war.
Right.
the insurrectionists had no guns
What are you-
on the 6th.
What are you talking about?
I also don't remember any of those wars where like the people were let into various buildings by police officers or walked in orderly single file through.
With no guns. With no guns.
Like-
But it's an insurrection.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I
A
just-
couple things here that I want to bring up. First, this was on Tuesday of this week. So he's speaking at the Constitution.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Well, is Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yesterday.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Wednesday.
no, it must have been last. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
think
what
it was
was
yesterday.
yesterday?
Yeah. Wow. I'm so on it. And he was speaking at where was he speaking at? Is this the U.S. Constitution building in Philadelphia?
Okay.
Oh, so that's why.
Okay.
So, but it's,
he references the Constitution.
He references the Constitution.
Everybody
That's why
cheers.
that comes into play.
Yeah.
But the two things that the Democrats want to run on the next 4 years is that the insurrection was real. The January 6th thing was a real insurrection, violent insurrection. They want to keep that in the news. Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi's putting together a committee to investigate. So they're going to keep that going.
Just like the riots in Minneapolis?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're going to look into that.
Police stations.
Yeah, right.
Burning down. The second thing that they're going to want to run on, they want to keep this narrative going, is that all these voter legislation things that are going on in Georgia and all these Republican states are all racist.
Yeah.
Racist and increases voter suppression, and they don't give any reason for it.
Look,
But notice
They don't give any argument for it. They just say it's flat out racist.
I'm gonna be a broken record here, but I just want to keep pushing. They have a narrative to point to.
Yeah.
How did
Yes.
slavery end?
Right.
The federal government
That's
invaded the southern states.
Right.
You're right.
Yep.
How did we get the civil rights legislation? The federal government crushed the backs of states, and there was bad stuff going on in some of those states.
Yep. Yeah.
But who's their savior? The
The
federal
federal
government,
government.
right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so when states exert their rights over voting, there's a narrative they're pointing to
that they have.
I think that's all they're pointing to. I don't think there's any. I'm not aware of any of these states that are actually doing racist things anymore.
Yeah, well, and and that's the thing that I was saying before we played the clip is like, what was going on in the 1950s and the 1960s before we had the civil rights movement and the legislation and the act isn't the same thing that's happening now. I mean, the ability,
Except with vaccines.
well, bars, but maybe an abortion too. I mean, it's a little worse. I mean, there's so much he said that upsets me. First of all, there are look, you're foolish if you don't think the left and the right are both trying to control voting. Let's just be very honest about that. Everybody is trying to control how the game is played so they can win.
Sure.
Remember Acorn?
Remind me.
Acorn was a group that was supposedly a nonprofit group that was nonpartisan, that was grassroots organization that got majority inner city black people come out and vote. That's what they wanted.
Okay.
And so they were funded by taxpayer money.
Okay.
Acorn was found out to be basically a democratic operative function in these, and so that it really was them saying, "Hey, go out there, vote Democrat."
Right.
I mean,
Right.
vote how you feel so your story can be heard at the voting booth, right? Get out and rock the vote, all that stuff.
Right.
Why are they acting like they were not a part of a plan to make sure that they got left people to vote, or try to convince people that the left was their position when they did all these. So we know that.
Right.
We know that's how they operate, and the right has done it too. We've always done something where it's like, hey, how about we change the voting lines here? Who and where can vote? Everybody is playing that game. So I'm not acting like there's not something going on here. There's absolutely something going on.
Right.
But it's not what they think it is or where they always think it is. I mean, when you look back at what happened with the last election, you got to say, man, that was messed up. And in a lot of ways, you had COVID. Now you can drive up and vote. Now, I mean,
Dropbox voting, drive up and vote.
You got Facebook putting boxes on one side of the on counties so that these people can vote. I mean, something's going on. Something needs to happen. Some kind of change needs to happen. But what bothers me about Biden is he thinks that the black people of 1940 and 50 are the same black people of the day. That's just not true. We've grown and developed and done so much because in some ways we've gotten away from government and said maybe we need to build our own communities.
Right.
Maybe we need to start building up our own things and stop using so much.
Well,
assistance
even
from
that
the
though, but
government.
in the 1950s, the black community was doing really well.
Well, yeah,
Right?
There
Their
was
average
just
earnings per worker was way higher than even
Yeah.
after the 1964-65 legislation. Like
Yeah.
things were happening in the black
child,
community.
Child legitimacy was a lot higher.
so yeah.
Yep.
There's a couple of things here I just want to point out. One is, remember after the election, this last election, the Supreme Court, Texas actually petitioned, along with other states, the Supreme Court to consider
right.
whether there
That's
had
right.
been election fraud. Supreme Court denied that.
Legitimacy.
decided
of
not to
standing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it seems to me that at least the even though I was inclined to think that it was a foolish decision that they left it undecided, the flip side of it is what they did is set up a pretty high precedent for states to do their own thing.
Which I appreciate.
Which is there is that. And so that's a high bar.
point. Yeah.
And so with the feds trying to come in and pass legislation, even if they do pass some of this, it seems to me that there's a pretty decent chance that it gets appealed, or at least sections of it get appealed and overturned, because the Constitution actually does say very specifically that states are supposed to oversee the elections. The second thing is, I think Biden is actually, even though I think his rhetoric is overblown and he's pointing it in one direction, which is all wrong, like the voting legislation, I don't think that's the key indicator of this huge. I do think America is significantly divided.
Yeah.
I do think there is something about the point that he's making. I mean, I think he's probably pointing in the wrong direction, but have we been this divided since the Civil War? That might be.
He's not trying to make that point.
I know he's not.
Yeah.
I know he's not. But I think there's a point to say actually, there's something there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have states that are. I mean, and there's this massive migration going on too. I mean, there's people are moving
To Idaho, to Texas,
in hordes.
Yep.
And I think it's probably going both directions, but that's not helping either.
Yeah.
In which I think you've got states, a number of them, getting redder by the minute.
You can't have the kind of blood guilt that America has
Exactly.
on itself that's rumbling underneath all of
Exactly.
this, and not have something erupt.
Right.
50 to 60 million babies. I mean, I was talking to Neil. I can't calculate the impact of that on a society,
Right.
let alone the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't calculate. You seen those things where they stack up millions of dollars and show you how in a big warehouse $50 million looks like?
Yeah, tell you like what our federal
debt is,
or
and
whatever.
You do that with babies.
Yeah.
What does that look? I can't
Right.
calculate that. And you
Right.
don't think that we're divided?
Right.
Yeah, something's going on. That's judgment here.
Right. And then you have COVID accelerate a lot of that
yeah.
with shutdowns, and people saying, wait a sec, you did what? You called me unessential. You said what about my church?
Yeah.
You put what on my face?
Yeah. Well, because you can't deny the Imago Dei for that long and then not start
and
bleeding
so,
out to the rest of
So
society.
I do think, even though that's not what he's talking about, I do think it's a fact that we do have a massive divide.
Yeah.
The left, though, looks to the federal government to solve divisions.
Yeah.
Looks to the state to solve the unity problem.
Yeah.
That's their God. I mean, that's an old Enlightenment trope. The Enlightenment trope was, if we can just get this secular neutral state, they will solve all those religious moral differences, all those superstitions among the people. And for too long, Christians have gone along with that and said you can have this neutral arbiter in the state, and that will kind of hold us all together. And Christians need to say, no, absolutely not. Civil magistrate has a certain God-given authority, but it's not over everything. The church has a God-given authority. Families have God-given authority directly from Jesus Christ. Don't need the government's permission. Don't need a church's permission. I was talking to a pastor recently who was sort of admonished by people in his denomination because he registered disagreement with his elder board that mandated masks in their church. And they told him, he had said, I believe this is being authoritarian. He respectfully disagreed with the decision of his elders.
Yeah.
And the oversight he got sort of admonished him and rebuked him for calling that authoritarian. And it's like, are we Protestants?
What happened?
Well, it's not over yet.
No, I mean, like, what happened to us?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, what happened to us?
Yeah, what happened?
Both.
Yeah.
But it's like, I thought we were Protestants. Like, where in the Bible does it say you can bind people's consciences? You can come in to worship God if you put something over your face.
Well, and that's the point, Pastor.
I mean, that's what the Pope was doing.
Love your neighbor.
But that's why.
That's where it's
so
about.
we say this constantly, but you just pointed to exactly what's going on. The federal government is mirroring what's going on in our culture.
Yep.
So we've become the kind of people who
that's
function
real.
tyrannically.
Yep.
And so what is it that you preached at the conference? The little tyrant, define the little tyrant in our hearts.
In your heart.
Yep.
Well, that is the core of the problem. Why do we have voter problems? Why are we all because of the tyrant that's in us?
Yeah.
And we are in some way a part of what's going on because of how we're dealing with our own sins and our own issues in a local level.
Right.
And so the federal government is only mirroring.
We don't want to take responsibility, and we've talked about this
Exactly.
before, but if you want to have the authority, then you're going to have the responsibility, and if you take the responsibility, that means when things go wrong, it's your fault.
That's right.
And you got to own that, and we're a bunch of cowards, and we don't want that responsibility, and so we kick it out, and we say, well, I guess I just trust the experts. I guess I'll just trust the people in
we need
leadership.
the feds and all
we,
that.
kick it all the way up to the federal government and say, well, that's just what they said. I guess that's what we have to do.
Own it and
There's
repent of it.
a silver lining in all this.
Okay.
A lot of Babylon B said a lot of other states are looking to Texas for advice on how to get Democrats to leave. That's like true news. Like,
Wait,
that's
what?
not even
Wait.
That's real news.
How do you do that?
I'm scared where they're going to gather it. I want to deal with them.
I want to know how to get rid of the rhinos.
I want to.
Yeah, that too. Yes, please.
I want to convert them. We need them. Yeah. All right.
true,
That's
too.
a whole nother conversation. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them until Sunday. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.
See you in Tennessee.
Sign up for the conference.
Tell me about that show you did.